Dear Maestro, what are your impressions of working with Sofia Philharmonic Orchestra?
It's my second time here in Sofia, and it's beautiful. I enjoy so much the warmth of the orchestra. I think Sofia Philharmonic has a very special sound. It's a very warm sound the orchestra has. And also you feel that there's a lot of culture and tradition in the orchestra. I know many Bulgarian musicians, also from my student time. I was studying in Vienna and in New York. And in New York, some of my very best friends, they were from Bulgaria. And I remember the long nights we had in New York, and they told me so many Bulgarian jokes, and they were the best jokes I ever heard in my life. And you know, music is always, in a certain way, a language coming from the soul. And I feel that the Bulgarian people have a wonderful mix about the real life reflections and irony about life, about themselves, about their culture. And for me to come back is really, really beautiful to experience this music making coming from the heart and from the soul, from the people, which has so much colors. And these colors I can hear, and I work, and I really enjoy it.
Please tell us about the program of the concert.
Well, the program is specifically chosen now to give an idea of the Austrian-German music tradition. We played the Beethoven First Piano Concerto, which is of course one of the greatest piano concerti of Beethoven. And in this piece we will try to give a little bit the idea of the phrasing, of the elegance Vienna has at that time. We are talking about a time where everything was classical, not only the music. When you look how the people were dressed, how they were moving, the way they were writing, the paintings. It was the era that everything has a certain elegance and style. And of course we want to bring this also into the music of the interpretation of the Beethoven Piano Concerto. And in the second half we have the Bruckner Fourth Symphony. And this is a very special piece.
It's a big symphony.
Yes, it's a big symphony, but also we have to know that Bruckner was struggling a lot in his life, and he was not accepted, really. He had a strong counterpart in Vienna by a critic called Hanslick, and this critic was really trying to bring him down completely. And Bruckner was desperate in a certain way that he will be accepted. His way of writing the music was closely connected to Richard Wagner, and Richard Wagner was a revolutionary as a composer, and Hanslick was more for the old tradition, like Brahms coming out of Mendelssohn. So there was a big fight going on in Vienna in the late 19th century, and Bruckner was in the middle of that fight. And this symphony, the Fourth Symphony, is the only symphony which has a name, which is the Romantic Symphony. Why? I ask myself sometimes, why romantic? Because the name was also verified by Bruckner. And I think maybe it has to do with his way of believing that something beautiful will happen to all of us. And knowing Bruckner, knowing this composer who was composing for God, I think that he felt the first time a connection of going to heaven. If he's being a good human, struggling with all the human real life, the criticism, especially for him, one day he will be in heaven. So we have a kind of a human struggle within the music, but for one reason, to believe in beauty, and that beauty leads us to want go to heaven in the afterlife. And I think this is the romantic element in this symphony, that it's not only, we call it absolute music, but also has a program behind. The program of the human struggle to search for beauty, to search for truth, and becoming after death the reward of going to heaven, to God. I think this is one of the romantic elements in this symphony, and it ends in this huge, wonderful believing of a wonderful future. So a really deep piece, a very deep piece with a lot of repetition bringing us in a kind of a trance mode in the music. Very spiritual elements in the transition way. So in this music we really have a feeling that there might be something after we are dying, and it's something beautiful.
And what challenges do you meet in this piece during the working with the orchestra? Typically, technically, or?
There are a couple of very important things in Bruckner music. One is that his music, he was composing on the organ. So his music has very much to do with playing on the organ and then changing the color with the register of the organ, and now the orchestra has to do the same thing. So we are changing the color like an organ, not like a usual symphonic orchestra, which is very special. So you will hear in the symphony really a bright brass chorale, and right after, without break, only strings playing pianissimo. As if you have all registers open in the organ, you play full sound, boo, and immediately you close everything and it's like, boo. It's an amazing effect. And Bruckner always uses this kind of instrumentation tools, as we say. So this is one part you have to take care in the orchestra very carefully. This is very clear, that pulling the orchestras of the organ, pulling the registers of the organ, and the same is for the orchestra.
What is your first memory related into the music?
Well, I was already in a concert, I was told, when I was in the belly of my mother. But I cannot remember, at least not with my mind. I grew up with music. I'm born in a musical family, so I can only say that music always has been one of the most important parts of my life, if not the most important part of my life. So that's it. I cannot think different. A life without music for me is not possible. I cannot imagine it. It was always with me.